Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to episode 202 of the Sticks and the Six podcast. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Forbes, here with my co host, Peter Barricchini. And we don't have too much to talk about. The happenings are just starting to take place in the offseason, with the Florida Panthers still celebrating their Stanley Cup win nearly a week later.
It's like they
But
haven't slept.
they have not slept. I don't think Brad Marchand's caught a wink. But anyways, before we get into all the fun stuff here, Peter, how you doing this week, buddy?
Yeah, doing great, man. Like you said, not a whole lot, but there are a lot of rumblings happening right now with the NHL draft happening in the next 2 days and then free agency kicking off next week. So buckle up. It's going to be a lot of big name moves, big name signings, trades, you name it. A lot's going to happen within these next few days. So I'm ready. It feels like there's going to be a lot happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I got for free agency. I got my Sam Bennett look going here. So
Yeah,
kind
there you
of,
go. Nice clean look, man.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna just do a little afternoon quickie here. Obviously, I gotta go pick up the kid. Last day of school. He's pumped. I'm sure to get the summer rolling here. So we're
Summer
gonna.
break is here, man. He's
That's
gonna
right. We're
enjoy
just
it.
gonna offer up a quickie here. But anyways, before we get into the mock drafts with the Leafs, obviously, one thing we obviously have to touch on is one, the Hockey Hall of Fame named its inductees, two former Leafs and Joe Thornton and Alex McGillney. Alex McGillney
Finally,
finally gets the call.
finally, that was social media had a very big sigh of relief when they saw him
Yeah,
inducted. That was a big one.
yeah. Zdeno Char obviously getting in as well. First opportunity for him. Jen Botterill getting in as well.
Yes,
Amongst other names as well. So a big congratulations to all of them. If you haven't checked out a video on Bar Down, they've got the video of Lanny and Ron Francis calling Joe
giving
Thornton
Joe
to
the
let him
call.
know after he didn't pick up on the first call, so they gave him hell for that. But definitely a little bit of comedic relief there.
Kind of felt like a prank phone call there.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you can hear the excitement in Big Joe's voice, and rightfully so. The guy deserves to be there,
Mhm.
and I know it was a short-lived run in Toronto, but I got that Leafs Thornton jersey sitting around,
Got
so
to.
now he's a Hall of Famer. That's the reason I got it in the first place. Um, Anyways, outside of that, we're just gonna quickly touch on a couple things here. Rasmus Andersson. This is a guy that we've had as a target for the Leafs in previous seasons. Obviously, a guy who's coming up on free agency. I believe after next season, correct?
One more year. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's got one
4.5.
more year at 4.5. And a guy that can add a lot to a team on the back end. He's obviously added a lot in Calgary over the years. But a guy that they seem far apart in Calgary. So there is smoke surrounding Rasmus Andersson and the possibility that he could be a guy that gets moved on draft day. There's going to be a lot of moves. Elliot Friedman said this could be, there's always the speculation that drafts could be crazy. This might be one where it actually some
It's going to be
craziness.
crazy.
Some
Yeah.
craziness is going to unfold. Man, there's cap space for teams now.
hmm
There's big name players that are going to be on the move, as we know with Mitch Marner. So that's obviously a conversation that's going to happen over the next little while. Here is where are these big name players going to go? How is everything going to unfold? Free agency is going to be insane, and then of course. Draft day right around the corner. 2 days away from draft day here. It's exciting times in the hockey world before we get into those dog days. But anyways, so Rasmus Andersson, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I know you've got something coming out with him.
hmm
What's your take on Rasmus Andersson?
Wrote about him before, thinking that the Maple Leafs should have been on him last year when there was a little bit of smoke there. How he was entering the rumor mill. I think they should still take that run. There's a familiarity with Brad Treliving. He drafted him in 2015. He fits that bill. He's very strong defensively. He can block shots. He'll fit the Berube's defensive system very well. He could get pucks on net. He's had double-digit goals, something the Maple Leafs have struggled to get defensively from the back end. So I kind of feel like he feels a really good piece, especially on the right side, a right shot defender. It's just what's going to happen contract wise. I know he's asking for a big payday. Is this going to be the situation where they ask Morgan Rielly to waive his no contract, to try to make him involved in a trade? There's rumors about him or the talk about him possibly Maple Leafs asking him to try and waive it. Who knows? He's earned that no move clause for a reason. He's been through the highs and lows with this team. It's within his right. If he chooses not to, fine. But Maple Leafs don't have a lot of draft capital if that's going to be a sticking point too. So it makes sense to get him, but acquiring him is going to be the big thing because they don't have first. You're going to give up either Cowan or Danford. I don't think it's going to be Cowan. And you don't have a lot of leeway compared to what other teams may have. So good fit, but you're going to have to really, really make it a deal worthwhile for Calgary.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, worth noting as well that there hasn't been a lot of love between the Calgary Flames and Toronto since Brad Treliving headed that way. So
Yeah.
We'll see how things play out. But
That could
definitely
be a
a
big
guy.
reason.
Yeah, definitely a guy you want to be taking a close look at. It does the asking price does come into play, of course, with what he wants on his next contract. Again, this boils down to, Canadian markets are going to be forced to pay a little bit more. That's why we don't see as many team friendly deals with players in Canadian markets. At least we haven't in the past, and by the sounds of it and the way negotiations are going with JT in Toronto, hometown discounts aren't really a major piece for Canadian markets. We can talk all we want about tax-free states. We can talk all. Apparently, it's not a problem in the NHL. We'll continue down that narrative and the rhetoric that Gary Bettman is deciding to set through the NHL waves. That it's not an issue, but as we've seen with Mason Marchment's move, as we've seen with the possibility of Jonathan Marchessault wanting out of Nashville and where he would want to go to maintain the value of his contract, the asking prices in Canadian markets seem to be a little higher than what you would see in, no tax markets. Regardless, we have another move broke this afternoon. Evander Kane broke it himself, really, on X. He is headed to the Vancouver Canucks, his hometown Vancouver Canucks, where he played junior. Obviously, was born in Vancouver, for a 4th-round pick going the other way. With it, the Edmonton Oilers clear up about a little over 5 and change, a million in terms of cap space. Gives them the opportunity to sign Evan Bouchard, which is a big thing, especially with them having lost 2 players to offer sheets last season. That the door was kind of open there for Evan Bouchard as well. Obviously, they want to get him locked in, hopefully long term for Oilers fans, but we'll see where that goes. There's some talk that it might be a 1-year deal. Anything to really take away from this trade of Evander Kane and the Vancouver Canucks?
Not really. I think it kind of needed to be done. They needed cap space big time, whether it's to sign Evan Bouchard, whether it's to bring on someone like John Gibson. They had the cap space to do it. And honestly, there was going to be a cap casualty. Evander Kane was one of them because 5.1 for what he's making right now compared to what was originally asked of him to do as a player on this team just really wasn't quite living up to the expectations. But I feel like with that a little bit of space right now, they have some wiggle room to make some necessary signings, especially bringing a top name goaltender like Gibson. It's been in the stars that they've been connected to him. So if they're able to bring him in, that is a big help for that. That was the one takeaway that I got with that trade, where they have the space now to actually get a bona fide starter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. One comment I liked was from Cam Robinson saying at least the Vancouver Canucks have a history of, mature dressing room antics. So kind of a shot at the past run-ins that I guess Evander Kane has had with previous teammates. We'll see how that works out in Vancouver. Maybe being back home will provide him with a little bit more, a little bit more of a leadership role if he can, if you can say that, being back with the Canucks. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, Vancouver needing somebody after the loss of JT Miller this past season as well. So interesting. We'll see how that plays out. Again, trades are going to be, we're going to be bombarded with trades and news come draft day. There's way more to come. But with that, we don't have we don't have an ad read this episode. THPN is working on some big deals here, hopefully for the 2025-26 season. That said, make sure while you're watching, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials. Also, head over to SeatGeek. You'll see our promo codes in the description of this episode as well. SeatGeek can get $20 off your first purchase, as well as BioSteel up top there. Up top there, you can get 20% off your purchase online. Yes, there you go. There you go. It's always backwards here. I forget we're kind of mirrored rather than. Anyways,
that I chime in and help you out there.
Doesn't matter. Maybe from now on, I'll just go like this, point my fingers wherever I can.
All the way, all over the
That's
screen,
right.
yeah.
Do the full 360. Anyways, be sure to subscribe. It helps us go a long way. It's going to help us next year. As we've mentioned in the past, we're giving to the Goudreau Brothers Foundation this year. Based on the goals scored by the Maple Leafs in preseason, regular season playoffs. We're going to look to do that again with another organization next season as well. So if you have any organizations that you are dead set, you want us to give back to, put in the comments. Give us a reason as to why that should be our next organization. We'll look to do that this coming season for the 2025-26 season. Anyways, the big thing now is going to be draft.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get into free agency maybe next week or the week after. We'll see.
Bit by bit.
Bit by bit. The big thing is going to be the draft. The Leafs, their first pick as of now is, what was it, 64th, I believe.
64th. They traded it with Florida last year. And lo and behold, because they won the Cup, we're not picking until the end of round 2. So
64th. We kind of have an idea of where the Leafs might go with their first pick. Given that they may not make a trade to move up. I mean, it'd be great if they did, but that would come at a cost of likely a roster player or a top prospect. We should mention too, I can't believe we've kind of swept over this, is Topi Niemela signs a 1 year over in Sweden with Malmo. Still, I think an NHL caliber defenseman. Doubtful that he makes it to the NHL now with the Leafs, given where that relationship is, and
kind of seems strenuous at this point.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's a top prospect out of the cupboard for the Maple Leafs. That said, we did jump on FC Hockey. You did your mock draft.
Yeah,
I did a mock draft quickly before we jumped on here. So I'm sure. I mean, it's mock draft season. You said it. You said it before we recorded. It's mock draft season. Everyone's throwing them out there. Everyone's picking their picks. Everyone's giving their reasons. So we decided to do that on this episode. That'll be the tail end of this episode.
Yeah.
So with that said, Leafs are going into the 2025 NHL Draft with 6 picks. They've got the 64th, the 95th, 137, 153, 185, 217. Seems like they don't have a lot of draft capital. We've talked about the lack of draft capital with this organization. Some of it left by Dubas, some of it kind of inherited with the way True Living's made some moves to try and push this team over the top. So we're gonna get into it right now. Our picks, pick by pick. We're gonna go with what we did with FC Hockey. Who was available? I mean, my mock draft, Matthew Schaefer went second, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be, we're not going to be spot on. If we are, great. Give us our dues when the time comes. Shout out to the 32 Thoughts podcast when we talked about Mitch Marner going out west.
Shout out.
With that said, number 64, Peter, who you got?
Yeah, I just also want to give a big shout out to FC Hockey because this has been a very fun tool that a lot of people online have been using to build up drafts, get ideas, and everything like that. So big shout out to them because that is a really great tool to have, especially when people want to do mock drafts. That's something fun to come by, and this is why we're just having a little bit of fun with this. But as you said, pick 64. Again, you're looking at like late second, third round talent with this pick, and I have been a big fan of this player, and I even took to Twitter X to talk to Cam Robinson, and he gave a player card on Theo Stockselius where he could be a really great get at the end of that second round, and I feel like he'll be a really great pick for the Maple Leafs. I know we talked about them going defense with that pick, but if Stockselius is available, I really like the impact that he brings. I like the size. I like the intensity and the edge that he can play. He's got a strong work ethic, deceptive playmaker, really decent shot, and even picked it up. Like, he was one of the top J20 players with 51 points in 40 games, another 16 in 9 playoff games, and was more as a depth role for Sweden at the U18s, and he put up 5 points in 7 games. So to me, he kind of fits that build of, winger, size, skill, two-way play, mix of everything, and will fit well in the middle part of the lineup. And I think that should be a really great selection for the Maple Leafs at 64.
All right, I'm going with not just because I did his draft profile, but Artem Vilchinski, 6'4" defenseman, 243 pounds. This guy's a massive, massive asset. We talked after the combine that I have this strong inkling that if the Leafs stay where they are, they're going to go with a big defenseman off the hop. Even if they move up, they might look to make a pick for a defenseman. He defends well. Might not always show up on the stat sheet, but outside of that, like, he's going to be your big stay-at-home guy. He moves around well enough that he can keep most forwards, out of the zone, meets them at the blue line, isn't afraid to attack physically. He's a big guy that's going to punish opposing forwards, and I think that's exactly what the Leafs need, especially with where their prospect cupboard is at. I think Vilchinski's a guy that they could pick up at 64 if they happen to stay at the back of the second round there. Okay, pick 95. What do you got?
Similar to you with Vilchinski, I went with a steady shutdown defender in Jacob Rombach. Like you mentioned, the Leafs want to go heavy. They want to go big. They want to be tough on that back end. He's 6'6", 209. And again, the defensive mindset that he brings, he's very calm under pressure, defending rushes, defending the middle of the ice, keeping players to the outside, getting in the lanes and blocking shots. A little bit of underrated offensive skill set, but his defensive game is the one that stands out the most. And like you mentioned, they want to go heavy. They want to go big at the draft. I think Rombach is that kind of player where he can shut down everything very effectively. Going to University of Minnesota. So, a little bit of, connection there with Matthew Knies as he went there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really like the defensive potential that he has, kind of similar to that of Chris Tanev, where the offense won't be there, but he's very effective defensively and he can kill plays. So he would be a great fit for me if he's available at 95.
All right, I stuck with the defenseman at 95. I went David Bedkowski from the Oshawa Generals of the OHL, 6'5", 214.
Good pick.
Plays with one hell of an edge. He's not afraid to get up in the offense as well. His stats are offensively undervalued, right? Mm-hmm. He's got one hell of a shot. He's not afraid to throw a one-timer in there from the point. Something that we've talked about the Leafs needing more production from the back end, even if it's shots getting through, making sure that there's rebounds for those forwards to pounce on, some garbage goals. It gets those Leafs over the hump. Obviously a guy that wouldn't be in the NHL for another couple of years, but a guy that's a big body. And we've talked about it how many times. Come playoff time, you can never have too many defensemen. That also comes to you cannot have too many defensemen as trade assets. We've seen in the past big defensemen go for big returns. Brandon Carlo is a guy that comes to mind with the Leafs going and acquiring him. Even where he's at, not the most offensive player, but what he adds to the back end, that meanness, that toughness, that physicality, something that the Leafs have lacked over the years. They're starting to build that back up under Brad Treliving and Craig Berube. I think Bedkowski's a great pick at 95.
Absolutely.
Next up, 137. Who you got at 137?
Another right shot defender, but I'm going with a little bit more offensive skill set. And I kind of feel like he will be taken, or there's going to be a lot of teams that take a swing on him, and that's Bryce Pickford. As you've mentioned, or as we talked about, I really like the, year-to-year development that he took from last season to this season. And his head coach or assistant coach even took note of that, how he's become more complete, but he has come up offensively at clutch points, especially for Medicine Hat down the stretch into the postseason, into the Memorial Cup. he was one of their go-to offensive play drivers and shooters from the puck. And like you said, you got to get shots from the point. Pickford does just that, but he's rounded out his game to be a little bit more complete. And with a little extra seasoning under his belt as an overager, Maple Leafs have gone that route before where they do draft overage players. And I think Pickford on that back end with that well-rounded game, with the shooting aspect, with the ability to find the back of the net very well and to find the lanes and take the shots at the right time, definitely feels like it could be a big payoff for the Maple Leafs. And obviously, when you get to this point, you want to take some risks. That's when I'm willing to take with Pickford.
Beautiful. I like that pick. Mine for 137, we took a step away from the defenseman. We went Owen Martin from the Spokane Chiefs of the WHL, 6 foot, 183. So not the biggest guy, but he's solid. He's tenacious. He gets in there. He's physical. He's physical off the puck, which is a big thing. This past season, he put up 12 points in 20 playoff games, as well as 34 points in 39 regular season games. So he does have that offensive add as well. I think it'd be a great defensive move, a depth move for this team as well, to get a guy like Owen Martin who can come in and kind of add that offense in that bottom six. Again, he's a guy that's not afraid to play off the puck, and when he does so, he's also a great defender in his own zone. There's not a place in his own zone that he's not afraid to kind of get into, and with the Leafs potentially likely moving on from Marner, having a guy like that who can come in and be a PK guy as well, I think that's going to be huge for the Leafs if they can grab Owen Martin late in or midway through this draft. But 153, what do you got at 153?
This kind of feels like a replacement when they traded away Nikita Grabenkin. We love the energy. We love the work ethic. We love the ability to go in on the attack and establish a forecheck. And I went with Carter Klippenstein from the Brandon Wheat Kings. Tested very well at the combine in a lot of categories where he was like maybe top 10, top 15. But he brings that physical play. He brings that winning mindset to winning battles down low, along the wall, you name it. This is a guy that's going to work hard every single time. And the production may not be there, but he's definitely going to be that fourth line in your face kind of grinder where he has that speed. He has a little bit of skill to his game as well, but it's the work ethic and drive where he's got that size aspect to win battles. And I think that's going to work very well for the Maple Leafs if he could reach his potential and be that serviceable fourth line player for the team down the stretch.
All right, 153. I took Jacob Kvasnica from the he'll be at the University of Minnesota in 26, 27. He's heading there. But 5'11", 159 pounds. Not the biggest guy, but a guy that's definitely not afraid to use his speed and tenaciousness to fend off defenders. So he's a guy that's going to come at the opposition with speed. He's going to work his way around. He's going to angle himself well, that he can create, not just be a guy that can get past defenders and maybe work around the slow-footed, but he's also going to be a guy that can be in the right spots for those give and goes right at the blue line, getting their guys in for opportunities. A guy that's going to be interesting to watch. He's supposed to be headed to the WHL at the Penticton Vs next season. And then obviously the University of Minnesota. Again, we talked about the relationship with the Leafs and University of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. That could be something to watch. But a guy that will add that speed to the Leafs lineup, continue to add that speed to the Leafs lineup, and help create offensively. I think that's a solid pick at 153. On to the next pick, 185. I think you're gonna like mine, but we'll see what you got at 185 first.
I mean, I like your Bedkowski pick, so there's a good chance I'm going to like this one. But I still go back to a defender. I went with the NTDP route, and I took Asher Barnett. Captain Team USA at the U18s. 6 points in 7 games. Decent production because he's not really known as being an offensive producer, especially with this crop of NTDP players. Not a whole lot of substance, not a whole lot of players that stand out, especially on that back end. After Logan Hensler made the jump to university. They were kind of thin on that back end. Carter Miko was injured. I really like the steps that Barnett took in terms of his overall game, joining the rushes. He doesn't really have that one standout quality, he excels in a lot of areas, but he does the little things right. He's very smart. He's calculated. He doesn't tend to be aggressive with his decision making. Plays it very safe, but it's always this is the right play every single time. So I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential right there. He's a leader with his play and with his words on the ice as well. He does whatever he can to help boost his team forward. And I feel like having that kind of vocal presence and having that leadership that he could bring as well, even if he doesn't wear the letter, he could still make an impact.
So 185, believe it or not, I have Carter Klippenstein.
Oh, there we go. So you're still available on both our boards.
I was able to get him. I was able to get him at
there
185.
We go.
And he's a guy that, again, being at the combine, we got to see what he was able to do on the physical side of things, what he brings as a physical being. But on top of that, he has that offensive skill as well that he can add that to a lineup. So for all the same reasons that you liked him at 153, I like him at 185. If they can get him at 185, I think that's a huge steal in the top 200. But yeah, I like same reasons as you. I'm not going to repeat it. But I like Carter Klippenstein at 185. Last but not least, and this one, like, rarely do these guys work out, but you never know. We go back to a guy like who was it that was picked years ago in the very last pick, and he went on to have a great NHL career. Oh my God, why is it skipping my mind?
Ooh, not Pavelski.
No. It'll come to me. Anyways, pick 217. Who you got at pick 217?
See, I don't think he'll be available this late. I think he'll be gone in the maybe 4th or 5th round. But I do like the upside that he brings. And Lev Katzen was available for me. He's committed to Penn State University. It was a really not difficult year, but he started off with the Green Bay Gamblers in the USHL, 6 points, 9 games. Then he made the jump to the Guelph Storm, where he had 48 and 44. And the Storm really didn't quite have the best season overall. Not even I can't remember. I have to go back and double check where they were in the standings, but Storm weren't that strong of a team. He goes on and has a really standout U18 tournament where he was on the top line with believe Braden Coots and Cole Reshny or Brady Martin, one of those two, but he was in that top 6 for Team Canada. He played 5-on-5. He played on the power play. Great energy, great skill. He's a complimentary player that could do a lot of work. And yes, he is undersized. He is 5'7" or 5'8", 176 pounds. But the energy that he brings, he doesn't shy away from the physical play. He'll go in there. He'll do his very best to win the battle and come out on top. And the skill and speed that he's able to get coming from those battles and drive the middle of the ice very quickly really makes him dangerous. So I don't think he'll be available at that spot, but even if he is available in the earlier rounds, I think Toronto should take a swing on him because of that high energy and pace.
All right, Patrick Hornquist was the guy I'm thinking of.
There we go.
He was taken dead last in the draft, went on to have an unbelievable career.
A couple Stanley Cups to his name.
Yeah, that's right. So 217, I've got Thomas Suoniemi. Am I saying that right?
Okay.
Suoniemi?
Yeah, you did.
All right. Out of Kiko Espo, U20. So, again, another undersized guy, 5'11", 161. So I'd like to see him put on a little bit of weight, be able to push guys around a little bit. But definitely a guy who brings that offense. The reason I took a Finn, I think Finns have that little bit of an extra edge. They know what their role is. They like to play regardless of what their role is. 46 points in 37 games at the U20 SM Sarja. And then again in the playoffs, 5 goals, 14 points in 13 games for his team as well. So a guy that definitely knows his way around the net. He's got quick hands. He's got great vision. He sees the game well. He slows it down. He's not going to be the quickest guy out there, but he's a guy that's going to find his way through the opposition by either passing or making those quick little dekes. And they're subtle dekes. He's not flashy, but he's a guy that's going to get there and get the opportunities and create off the rush. He's a guy that can put up some offense. I like him in the bottom 6. 217, we'll see if that happens. We'll see if he can make an NHL career of it. But yeah, that's what I got at 217. So,
and we
any
see
surprises for you?
Not really. No, everything really was, in line with what the direction the Maple Leafs could bring. I was just about to add on to the whole entire Finn aspect where it doesn't matter where they play, but as we've seen with the Florida Panthers, they have a number of Finns and they know their roles. They know what's going to be asked of them, and they thrive no matter what situation they're in. So, no, I really like that Suoniemi pick towards the end there. Obviously, big fan of the Clip Assign one, just one pick after me. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be one of those drafts where the Maple Leafs and Mark Leach, we know how well he does during the second, third, fourth, fifth rounds, how he could pick these guys out. He's done that in the past with Dallas. Could do that this time around, even though there's not a whole lot of upside with this draft. He could make these picks work out.
Finding the value in the gems that are the later rounds, the Datsyuks, the Zetterbergs, the guys like that. So 100%. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun draft. It's gonna be an interesting draft from the Leafs perspective. Yeah, outside of that, we're 2 days away. We'll definitely do a recap at some point. Anything else you wanted to add, Peter, before we close out this shortened episode this afternoon?
No, I do have something on Rasmus Andersson coming out, as well as my yearly thing where I always recap the Maple Leafs draft to see if they do select any of these players. We already got a little bit of a scouting report that I could fall back on here. And also from all the fantastic work over at the Hockey Writers too. So, yeah, no, just got those pieces in the works. So yeah, it's, again, like I said at the top, going to be an interesting couple of days.
Look out for the fake accounts, folks. Frank Ciravelli is out there. Frank. Ciravelli.
Oh,
so look out for the fake accounts. There's a lot of fake news out there right now.
Don't even trust the check marks at this point half the time.
No, you gotta be very careful with the information that you take. Anyways, as I mentioned in the middle of the show here, guys, check out the Hockey Podcast Network. A ton of fantastic shows. Some of them going all summer long like ourselves. Head on over to SeatGeek. $20 off your first purchase with our promo code in the description of the episode below. As well as BioSteel, you get 20% off any purchase online. Make sure you check that out. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, wherever it is. You're going to find it. Make sure you hit subscribe. We're closing in on 200 subscribers. We appreciate everybody that comes in and checks us out every single episode. As always, it's been fun. Sorry for the shortened episode, but until next time, our friend Alex Hobson and his hit 25.